Hi everyone, Derek Hooper here. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about the basics of chipping. Now, a chip shot is played when you're fairly close to the green. You want the ball to spend a small amount of time in the air and most of the time on the ground rolling. It's a shot that is very, very helpful for you if you're missing greens and you need to get up and down. And it's a shot that, it is something that you should be spending quite a bit of time practicing, because it can really turn an average day of ball striking into a good score if you can chip and then putt quite well. And obviously, if you can chip the ball closer to the hole, you're going to make more putts. So today I just want to run you through the fundamentals of chipping, help you make solid contact, because if you can make solid contact, you can control your distance. If you can control distance, we're obviously going to chip the ball close to the hole. So I'm watching people hit chip shots, and I want to help them get the ball close to the hole. There's a couple of things that I'm really looking for, and at the top of my list is I want to see that players can, number one, make solid contact every time, and then secondly, I want to make sure that they're getting the same flight every time with the same club. So that means that they're going to need the same amount of loft on the shot every time, so therefore that's going to be determined by the amount of shaft lean they have at impact. So I want to run through the fundamentals of chipping with you so you can control those things, and then you're going to be a much better chipper. So when you set up, what I want to see is feet fairly close together, and I want to see the ball positioned in the middle of your stance. I'm going to take my normal golf grip, but my hands are going to be down towards the bottom of the grip, and I want to move the buttons on my shirt and my belt buckle a little bit to the target side of the golf ball, so I've got a little more weight on my lead foot than my trail foot. From there, when I make a swing, I want to let the arms go back, my weight's still on the left side, and then from here I'm going to make a gentle motion with the lower body so that the arms then follow and the club then follows the arms, and I'm looking for the angles that I've created at address to be maintained into the follow through. Now if I do that, it means that I'm controlling the shaft lean and therefore controlling the amount of loft. It's also much easier for me to control where the bottom of the swing arc is or where the club hits the turf. So the drill progressions that I would work through with players, I would get them to set up exactly like this, but I'm setting up inside with the ball too far away from me, and all I'm doing is I'm having practice swings, and I'm trying to make sure that the club is brushing the turf on the target side of the golf ball. And I would make sure that a player is able to do this with quite a bit of consistency before I gave them a golf ball. If you struggle with that and you find that you're bottoming the club out in a couple of different positions, I want to show you a couple of drills that I use to help players control the bottom of the swing arc. So one that I do is I'll take an alignment rod and I'll put it a couple of inches behind where I want to hit the ground, and then I'll set up again, and the idea is that if I make that same chipping motion, I want to make sure that I miss the rod, because if I lose my shaft angle and use my hands, then I'm going to clip the rod and I'll know very quickly that I've done it incorrectly. The other one that I like to do is, if I take this alignment rod again, this time I'm going to hold it down the shaft of the club and again take my setup so the shaft runs up my left side. If I then make a chipping motion from here, if I try to use my wrist too much, I'll get hit in the side by this rod. So I want to set up, arms back, turn the hips, maintain the angles, and if at the end of the finish my angles look like this, I'm looking for the shaft to match up with my left forearm, I'll know I'm doing a good job. If I come through and I'm doing this, the angle in the back of that left wrist is going to break down and this rod's going to hit me in the side. Now if I can do those two drills with some consistency, then I want to put a golf ball in there. I'm going to take the same setup again. At this stage I'm using no target at all I'm doing is chipping balls onto the green. I'm trying to make consistent contact and make sure I've got those angles in my wrists at the end of the swing. So I set up, and I'm just checking the angles in my wrist to make sure that was okay. I'm watching to see where the club bottoms out at the bottom of the swing arc. When I can do that with some consistency, then I can move on to controlling distance, and I'll cover that in a future drill. So get away in a future video, sorry. So get away, work on those drills that we spoke about today. As we said, you want to make sure that the setup is consistent, we're controlling the shaft angle and therefore the loft on the club, and then controlling where the club hits the ground. If you can do that, you can be very good at chipping.